As most of you know, Isekai Quartet, the movie, has recently come out, and there was a side story featuring the real Hoshin of the Wastes. And of course, I made a video covering the side story in which Alec Hoshin talks about his journey to save the world with Satella, Flugel, and the rest of the heroes. Now, what's very important is that I haven't actually talked about the movie itself, because as you know, it's in Japan only, and we have to wait for it to actually come out here in other countries. We have to wait for the DVD version, and then someone will of course upload it to the anime sites, and then you could watch it. However, there's interesting information in the movie itself, and per usual, this is given to us by Ice himself. So anyways, the interesting information is that Hoshin seems to recognize both Emilia and Subaru. Now keep in mind, Hoshin existed 400 years in the past and has never seen them. And Subaru was just summoned, and Emilia is 116 thereabout. Yet he seems to recognize both of them. However, it seems that he did not expect them to have these names, quotation mark around the word these. Now, of course, this infers that Subaru and Emilia are their born names. So it seems that Hoshin recognizes them, but Subaru goes by a different name, because Hoshin recognizes Subaru, but not by the name of Subaru. Of course, this infers that Hoshin recognizes Subaru by the name Flugel, and Emilia by the name of Satella. So, of course, this is a heavy implication that Subaru is Flugel and Emilia is Satella. There's also other strange coincidences. So, in rezero, a lot of characters have verbal tics. I'm pretty sure if you think about a character, you could see a way in which they speak, which is really unique. They may say or do something. So, Garfiel, for example, is all over the place. Roswell will elongate several of his words. Ram will say Barasu instead of Subaru. So you see what I'm talking about. Now, Emilia has her own verbal tic, where she says the word really, or in Japanese it's called tsugoku. She'll say that word elongated, so she'll say really, or sugoku, or something like that. I'm not Japanese, but she will elongate that specific word. Now, it turns out that Hoshin also does that. Now, keep in mind, in the Isekai Quartet movie, Emilia never says the word, yet Hoshin is automatically using it, which again seems to imply that he most likely learned it from someone else, such as Satella, and it turns out that Satella also elongates that specific word, which just so happens that Emilia elongates. Now, Hoshin also says that Subaru and Emilia, he hopes that they have a happy ending. So, again, it's very weird what's going on here. This seems to point at this idea that Subaru and Emilia might at some point go back in time. They take on an alias. Of course, Subaru will take on the word Flugel as his name, and Emilia will take on the word Satella as her name. They'll bump into Hoshin, and that way Hoshin will get to know them by their aliases. Also, one thing I forgot to mention was that we know that Hoshin stated that out of the group that they had, so the 6 heroes, Flugel was the most likely to die, which infers that Flugel was a very weak person, despite Shola saying that her master, Flugel, was strong, which again seems to point at this idea that Subaru was Flugel, because Flugel was very weak and the most likely to die, but of course he had returned by death, so he could always survive, which is really strange. If Flugel could die, he would have returned by death given to him by Satella, but Satella is beside him. Now, there's only one issue I do have with this idea, is that if in the side story we see that Hoshin wants to see his friends, he wants to see Satella, he wants to see Flugel, he wants to see all of his friends. So why doesn't he react to Subaru and Emilia when he bumps into them? He just sort of recognizes them. He doesn't do anything. He wishes them, to have a happy ending, but he doesn't say anything. Again, I'm not too sure why. Maybe there's context in the movie. So that's the sort of evidence against them being Flugel and Satella. But in this movie, it seems to heavily imply that Subaru is in fact Flugel and Emilia is in fact Satella. So potentially in the future, they'll somehow get teleported back in time. Which will be weird. It's kind of like a time paradox. That Satella, who's Emilia, will send Subaru and Emilia back in time. Like, it makes no sense to me. And Emilia will end up becoming Satella. It's like, what? That's like a weird time paradox, but whatever. Anyways, let me know what you think about this information, and thank you for watching.